James Wan, writer of Saul, stole my story. I copyrighted a brand new story never done before in 2005, and James Wan took it in 2006 and made the motion picture Dead Silence. Watch this and you be the judge. In 2005, I wrote a brand new story about an old woman ghost. An old woman ghost being the main character had never been done before. I gave this story a brand new list of ideas, scenes, and characters, including imagery. Brand new imagery, which under the copyright law, cannot be used. People do simultaneously come up with the same ideas that are brand new, never done before. But there are so many brand new ideas, characters, and scenes that have been used in the movie Dead Silence. So many that James Wan cannot say this is just a coincidence. Furthermore, it is illegal to take a brand new story and alter it where the story still resembles the original body of work. When Dead Silence was being promoted, they promoted themselves as a brand new story never done before. I sent my manuscript off to over 100 publishing houses in 2005. In 2007, when the movie came out, I could not believe what I was seeing. If somebody steals your story, they're not going to keep the story the same. Of course not. You have the certificate. You can sue them. They're going to slightly alter the story so they can still get credit in creating the story, get paid for the story, and then just say that everything is a coincidence. Unless you have a lot of new ideas. Let me give you an example of what I mean. You remember 1980s Freddy Krueger? Okay, Freddy Krueger is a fine example. It was a brand new story about this man that haunts your dreams, and if you die in your dreams, you die in your real life. Well, you can't own that idea, so someone else could have used a regular man that came into your nightmares and killed you in your dream and you died in real life. Even a bunch of creepy children, even an old woman ghost. But if they were to change his hat into a cap and change his red stripes into red polka dots and change his 5 razored fingers into a hook where he still resembled the character, that is a copyright infringement. And just like Freddy Krueger, my main character, Susan Pale, is also a trademark character. Her last name being Pale, and that's the title of the book, Pale. He took Susan Pale and turned her into Mary Shaw. If you become scared, Susan will choke you. If you scream, Mary Shaw will cut out your tongue. Every time Susan Pale attacks, there's a supernatural darkness. Every time Mary Shaw attacks, there's a supernatural silence. Susan Pale lost her hands trying to save her baby's life. She got her hands back supernaturally before she was a ghost. Now it's 80 years later, she's a ghost and she chokes people when they're scared. Mary Shaw lost her voice trying to make her puppet baby appear alive. She got 2 voices back supernaturally. It's 60 years later. She's now a ghost and she cuts out people's tongues when they scream. Susan Pale pretends to be 10 children. Mary Shaw pretends to be 100 puppet children. You find out at the end of both stories that they're really the old woman ghost. Wow, did you catch all that? There's a lot more than that. James Wan took Susan Pale's character, her whole theme. He took her story before she was a ghost, and when she was a ghost, and characters around her existence, and he changed Pale into Mary Shaw. In the small town of Dusselton, there's an old woman ghost that would choke you if you're scared. In the small town of Ravensfair, there's an old woman ghost who will cut out your tongue if you scream. Every time she shows up, there's a supernatural darkness. Every time she shows up, there's a supernatural silence. Okay, now my story. The old woman ghost, she starts to taunt Dan and Mary Kunix. She lowers the lights, they become scared, and she chokes them to death. In the motion picture Dead Silence, the old woman ghost starts to taunt Lisa. She lowers the sound. She gets Lisa to scream and she cuts out her tongue. The hero in both stories is a white male in his 20s with light brown hair, brown beady eyes. Growing up in a small town, they both heard the ghost stories about an old woman who roams the woods with her children/puppet children. And in my story, if you're scared, she'll choke you. And in the motion picture, if you scream, she'll cut out your tongue. Both heroes are suspected of a murder the old woman ghost committed by a detective. Like in the flashback scene when she was still alive and she lost her hands trying to save her baby's life. Got her hands back supernaturally, and a little boy makes fun of her and says, "You killed your baby." She had lost her hands. She was a pianist. So she kidnaps a little boy, puts him in a secret room below her bedroom window, and feeds him a pair of hands. Now for Mary Shaw, the flashback scene, she had lost her voice. She was trying to make her puppet baby appear alive. And then she gets harassed by a little boy who says, "Your puppet baby is not even really alive. She was a ventriloquist." So she kidnaps a little boy, puts him in a secret room in her bedroom in the woods, and cuts out his tongue.